Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.
Welcome to Creating Connections Podcast, episode 154. I am Mitch Taylor.
And I'm Vickie Musni.
Are we wrong?
Does creating connections even matter?
Our podcast, our book, almost everything that Vickie and I have strived for over the last 2 to 3 years is creating connections based. And maybe we're wrong. More after the break.
That was nice and easy.
What are you talking about? This also speaks to a much bigger issue.
Providing personal solutions through understanding people. This is the Creating Connections Podcast with Gitomer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vickie Musni.
Welcome back to Creating Connections Podcast, episode 154. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Vickie.
And in light of some discussion and banter around the industry as of late, I'm wondering, I'm second guessing, I'm questioning, like, everything.
There's so much talk about millennials and, well, our clients nowadays, and, you know, they just want to, they want to book online, they don't want to meet,
Right.
they have no questions for us. These are some of the things that we've been seeing in our Sales for Event Pros forum and elsewhere. And I guess I just wanted to take an episode and discuss, you know, does this even matter? Are we totally off base? If people don't want to connect, are we even relevant anymore?
Yeah, we're not relevant. We're just, you know, two people that have a show that no one listens to, and that's just reality. So, you know, I'm in my basement right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm not in my basement. I'm in my office. But the point is, how important is creating connections? Is it just some BS thing to try to sell books? Or does it actually matter? Now, I would argue that it's up to you. You're the business owner. You get to decide how important creating connections is to you. But I would also say that on someone's wedding day or special event, that, yeah, you can go through the motions. You can be asleep at the wheel. If a bus driver's asleep at the wheel, then what happens to those school kids coming home from school? If you're asleep at the
Don't
wheel
go there.
at an
Yeah.
event, what happens? Sure, no one may die, but the reality is, are you shortchanging your client? I think you are.
Well, the other side of that, though, Mitch, is, and I don't mean this to sound like a cop-out because this is my answer for everything as a personality trainer, is that people are different.
Yeah.
And you and I are very similar personalities. So it's not a surprise to me that creating those kind of connections has been a high priority for both of us and is essentially what connected us and helped us decide that we were going to try to start teaching and reaching out to others and sharing what has worked for us. But there are people that are not like us.
True.
Generationally speaking and
Yes.
personality-wise. And I guess I just want to say that that's okay.
Yes, it is okay. And there's a market segment of people that you can cater to that don't care about creating a connection. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is a business model, if you will.
And there's different kinds of businesses too. And I think you and I have focused on weddings a lot.
Yeah.
Although I've shared that I've been phasing, out of weddings, cutting back significantly
Sure.
and focusing on other types of events. And I will admit, I don't have the same level of connection with my bar and restaurant owners where I do trivia.
Right.
Which is ironic because we're actually in there every single week, some of them for 5 years.
That is ironic.
But I mean, I can still walk into any of my 14 bars and my bartenders know me and most of them know what I want to drink when I walk in. So there's that level of connection.
That's a connection.
That's important,
But here's the thing. I would argue you should be creating connections anywhere along the way. How deep the connection goes is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But without a connection, are you going to get as strong of a referral?
Yeah.
Now, if you're strictly price-based, you may get the referral, but you're only getting it because your price is cheap. You're not getting
and for some people, though, if they're a quantity model, if it's a quantity business model, and that works for them,
sure,
that's okay.
But realize you're not getting it because you rock the event. You're getting it because you're cheap.
Yeah.
Those are two completely different things. And people will argue that point all day long. I don't care.
Yeah.
You're getting it because your price is cheap. Yes, you may have also rocked the event, but I dare say, if you had to make your client choose, why are they giving you the referral? It's because of the cheap price.
Unless you have a connection.
Yes. Yes.
So,
and that's why you need to develop connections. That's why you need to create connections all the way through. I have a corporate client. And ironically enough, I've been working with that client in some capacity over the last 7 years, roughly.
Okay.
And recently, I had an opportunity to buy the previous owner of the contract out, and I did. They had no qualms in transfer of ownership of that contract because I created a connection.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Mitch.
Sorry.
No, because you were there essentially as a subcontractor, right?
Right. And it wasn't about flowery stuff about their first dance. It was just a corporate event. This is providing projectors and speakers and microphones. This isn't anything emotional whatsoever.
Yeah.
But because I cared, because I've invested time, that's the other thing that people forget about sales. This is something, frankly, we haven't talked about. I haven't talked about in a long time, no pun intended. Time commits. Time commits. And that's something that hasn't been talked about for a while. And frankly, I think needs to come back a little bit. Not to say that you're going to connect with everyone, but I think if you spend a little more time with them, you will connect on a deeper level. I think that's just basic and elementary.
Well, that's another reason why I love doing my meetings over happy hour.
Yeah.
My initial contact meetings, if I can get them to sit down and have happy hour with us, especially I think that's a fun advantage that Craig and I have working together. If it's two couples just sitting down having, sharing a beer, and in some cases splitting appetizer platters, like that's bonding. When you're picking up hot wings off the same plate as someone and they're totally cool with that, like, you've created a connection.
Yes.
And,
exactly.
Sometimes it's accumulation of all of those things. Okay, but Mitch, then the question, the other side of this coin, the topic that's been coming up is the people that do want to book and they go to the website and they're happy to just do everything online. and then they become your client, how do you create the level of connection that you hope to have?
So there's lots of ways you could do it. To me, it's just about continuing the conversation and being relevant to their needs. So are you sending out emails throughout the process? Are you just contacting them once in between and that's it? Are you trying to see how you can help them? Just pick up the phone.
What if they don't want you to call them?
Then send an email and say, hey, I don't want to be a pest, but I want to make sure that we're taking care of you. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do. And it's the effort that counts, right? It's the thought that counts, right? Mm-hmm. So
I think so. And honestly, Mitch, I think that's really important because, and again, this ties into everything I do as a trainer for personalities. You can only do what you can do.
Yes.
You can't change anyone else. You're only in control of your own behavior and your own actions and your own words. So if you've got that client that's a little more closed off, again, I used to think, oh my God, they don't like me. It could just mean that's their personality.
Right.
They don't want to create a deep connection with you, but it doesn't mean they don't like you. And in their mind, if you give them space and that makes them feel valued and respected because you're okay with the level of connection that they want, ironically, that's going to deepen the connection for them.
Yes.
More so than if they're connecting in the way super extroverts want to connect.
And again, maybe they don't want to connect at all.
Yeah.
That's okay. If that's your business model, there's nothing wrong with it. But I dare say that your referrals aren't going to be as strong. And if they are strong referrals, I know some people argue, yeah, I get strong referrals. People refer me all the time. It's because you're cheap. Sorry. I don't know what else to say. Like, you may have rocked their party, and that may be 1A on the list. But number one is because the price point. Like, you have to have some sort of connection. And you can have a connection and a cheap price point too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people with low prices can't have connections. Of course you can.
Because when you get that referral though too, do you want it to be that, oh yeah, who was that DJ that I had at my wedding? What was his name?
Right.
Or do you want it to be, oh yeah, you should call Craig and Vickie. You should call Mitch.
Right. So the point is, I think connections are important. Don't sit here and say that connections are not important anymore. They are just as vitally important as they used to be and will continue to be for people who actually have a heart and care.
But connections can look different to different people.
Yes.
And connections can take place through different methods of communication.
Yes.
And we need to learn to be okay with that piece as well.
Yeah, connections doesn't mean that you're asking them about, what are you going to name your firstborn and, what specifically did you do on your first date? You know what I mean? That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking
And it doesn't have to be sitting down over happy hour either, even though that's how I love to connect.
Right.
I don't do that with every client. Not every client wants that.
Right.
It's
and
okay.
How you connect with a mother of the bride is a completely different. I met with a mother of the bride recently who was very that strict Catholic family, just very, mind your P's and Q's and be very right?
Mm-hmm.
And I met with a bride just the other night where literally she's dropping expletives like 3 sentences into the conversation. Well,
good thing you can speak both of those languages, Mitch.
Exactly. And this is where we find out how well-rounded you are as an individual in making a connection. And if you need help with developing that, then yes, we have a book to sell you.
We're not getting rich off that book, though.
I'm sorry.
We just try to create a resource to help people.
Too funny. Well, that's it for Creating Connections podcast, episode 154. I'm Mitch Taylor.
And I'm Vickie Musni.
We hope that you have gotten some type of connection with us through our podcasts, our books, our workshops. We greatly appreciate you consuming our content.
Yes.
And if there's ever anything we can do for you, please feel like you have a connection. You can reach out and talk to us anytime. No purchase necessary.
And we prefer Facebook, just FYI, but you can try us through whatever vehicle works best for you.
Thanks for watching Creating Connections Podcast. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Vickie.
We provide personal solutions through understanding people. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Creating Connections podcast with Gittimer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vickie Musni. For more information on providing personal solutions through understanding people better, visit creatingconnections.biz.